What's up, Giants fans, Hub watchers, YouTube subscribers, Rumble subscribers, Twitter and Instagram followers? It's Kush back at it again with another Giants reaction video. I didn't do one of these last week for several reasons. One, I was completely checked out of the game by the time halftime rolled around, so I felt like giving y'all a reaction video would have kind of been disingenuous of me kind of giving my whole thoughts on the game, right? But also, too, I was just really busy. In the middle of finals weeks, you guys notice, why is my hat, like, doing what it's doing right now? And anyway, besides the point, this video is going to be, just talking about the Giants, the state of the Giants in general, along with the reaction to this game. Now, obviously, I'm recording this just about 2 minutes after we had a turnover, courtesy of Lorenzo Carter, that strip sack fumble. And Mike Glennon went and threw a pick right back to the Dallas Cowboys. This defense is good. This defense, I feel like, continues to be the only reason the team is even in a game right now. The score is 21-6. There's about 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in the game. And this is a game that should be more of a blowout than it actually is. I mean, the Giants have 4 turnovers today on the offensive side of the ball. And the defense is keeping it extremely close, considering the fact that we have 4 turnovers. They're not allowing Dallas to run up the score on us as much as they probably should be running up the score on us. But before I get into all the negatives, let me talk about the very few positives that we have on the team, right? I'll start on the offensive side of the ball, and that is with the running game. Saquon Barkley and Devontae Booker. Let me talk about Saquon in particular because as a gigantic Saquon fan, I mean, he was the first jersey I ever owned. There's some in my eye. My bad, guys. He was the first jersey I ever owned of a current New York Giants player. Of course, I had an Eli and a Shockey jersey. But Saquon was the first one I owned of the current team. A lot of you guys know the story. He's one of the biggest reasons I even started the channel in the first place. He looks to be finally healthy. You know what I'm saying? I'm very careful, or I want to be very careful with the words I'm using here and the way that I'm phrasing what I'm saying, but he looks good. He looks better than he ever did at any point during the season, I'll say that. I was seeing a lot of 4-yard, 5-yard runs from Saquon. I'm seeing him go up the middle. I'm seeing him bounce it outside. I'm seeing him actually make people miss every now and then. I like that crazy one-hand catch. I'm not even calling it a one-handed catch because it makes you think of like Odell, right? That catch and the throw from Mike Glennon was so far behind and to the right of Saquon, he just stretched his hand out, grabbed it, and then continued running for like 5 yards. That was the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life, and I'm not exaggerating. There's only one that's up there with it. That Julian Edelman bobble catch during Super Bowl 51. There was the Jermaine Kearse catch at Super Bowl 49. That's about it, to be honest. But that's safe because that thing was so far behind, and he like caught it with his fingertips, right? And then brought it in and ran with it for another 5 yards. But he seems to be, I don't want to use the word back, once again, being careful with my phrasing, but I really liked what I saw from Saquon today. It looked like it was the closest thing we saw to him being himself since overtime in the Saints game. That's a long time. Now, I think it's very obvious that myself, along with other Giants fans that held the opinion of him just coming back immediately, would be wrong. I think that it's very clear that that's wrong at this point, that he is going to be a normal player in that sense where it takes you around 2 years to fully recover from an ACL injury, because that's what it looks like right now. If he could carry into next year, which is something I find myself saying at the end of every Giants season, it seems, in the past 5 years. So, you know, my optimism of this happening isn't the highest because we say every year, oh, if we could carry this thing into next year and then improve on some other points, we'll be fine. Like, it never happens. But with Saquon Barkley, if he could just continue to get healthier and continue to improve the way he is right now and just carry that into next year where we will hopefully have a better offensive line, then we will be fine. Because Devontae Booker as the 1-2 punch next to Saquon, I think, is the move. I'm so glad that we signed Devontae to a 2-year deal. It's one of the very few signings this past offseason that worked out immediately. And I say immediately because, well, let's see what happens with Kenny Golladay next year. I mean, Adoree, I think, was pretty good this year. Let's just see what happens with the other guys with a second year here and hopefully a better roster and better coaching. But Devontae Booker continues to look like the number one running back one on our team, which he's been running back one for this team the entire year. So I don't feel, some type of way calling him that, but he looked good. And the run game Of course, the best example of the run game working out was our second offensive drive, where I think we didn't pass the ball once. Unfortunately, we squandered it, ended up taking a field goal. I can't remember if that was Mike Glennon's fault or not. It probably was, to be honest with you. But that's the type of offense it's very clear that Joe Judge wants to run. And that's going to be the type of offense we're probably going to see next year. I just want to let fans know that. That's what we've been trying to build for a while. We just don't have the offensive line for it. I think we have the running backs for it. And in particular, Saquon needs to get healthy, but that O-line isn't there. And we see that basically every other drive of the game. The offensive line is terrible. Billy Price, Will Hernandez got to go. Will Hernandez is straight trash. This has got to be his worst year in the NFL, his 4th year. And he's one of a good amount of players that peaked in their rookie year and just did nothing since. Will Hernandez got to go. Billy Price has got to go. And I'm sorry, y'all. Nate Solder's got to go. But I'm sorry, y'all. Matt Pert is not it. And maybe he needs another year because he was a project player. You know, I find myself bouncing back and forth between saying give him another year, he's a project player. Maybe, you know, his ceiling is a swing tackle. And I bounce from that opinion going to just get rid of him because he really is bad. And we saw this last week. Remember earlier in the video I said this was going to be a couple thoughts from last week as well. We saw how bad Matt Pert was last week when Judge had him play the game instead of Nate Solder. And we're seeing it again this week. Nate Solder is truly better than Matt Pert, unfortunately. That's just the case, which is crazy to think about. But he's not good. Somehow, some way, you find a tackle that's worse than Nate Solder, at least as of right now and at this point in his career. He's still young, still just his 2nd year. We'll see what happens next. But I don't think he's the answer at right tackle, and I feel like all Giants fans would feel the same way. And as much as I hate Nate Solder's play on the field, unfortunately, guess what? He's a better option than to have Matt Pert out there, man. There's literally only one good offensive lineman we got, and thank God he's a great offensive lineman, in my opinion, one of the best tackles in the league, Andrew Thomas. Matt Skura, I don't like hold ill will or harbor bad feelings towards him as I do the other 3 or 4 guys I mentioned, because he's serviceable at times. And I feel like if we could just replace those 3 guys, I'm fine with Matt Skura as a left guard. You know what I'm saying? Get a right tackle in the draft, get a center in the draft, figure out something at the right guard position. Maybe Nick Gates comes back, maybe he doesn't, who knows? And you got a legit offensive line. It's easier said than done, yes, but I feel like we know what we need to do, as I hit the mic there on accident. And then the defense continues to be the best thing about this team. I mentioned earlier, 4 turnovers. The score should honestly be 40-6, but it's not. The score, I'm trying to look here. They're showing a replay of something that just happened. Oh yeah, Jake Fromm stepped in. I miss Jake Fromm stepping in. And guess what? I really don't care. It doesn't make much of a difference. The score is still 21-6 right now. I have to go back and look at how Fromm plays. Maybe to make another video on that. Should we start Jake Fromm for the rest of the season? Probably. It's not much worse than Glennon at this point. This dude has got to be the worst person I've seen play quarterback in my entire life. And seeing Mike Glennon play quarterback, you guys know this season I've been very, very, very on the fence with Daniel Jones and objective with him in terms of do I want him as my quarterback in the future and whatnot. But seeing Mike Glennon play quarterback makes me appreciate Daniel Jones playing quarterback so much more. It's crazy. As I'm just quickly looking, they're doing a booth review on something over there on the game. But yeah, the defense continues to be the best part of this team, and I just hope that it continues to do that next year. What I hope doesn't repeat is what's happened for the past 2 years, and that's the defense taking like a month to get their things together, to get on their feet, and to get the ball rolling. Lorenzo Carter entered this game with 0 sacks, left the game with 2 sacks and a strip fumble. I feel like maybe he heard all everybody's complaints. I'll be honest with you, not enough for me to want to keep you around. I mean, if they give you like a very, very cheap deal to be a role player, sure. But I'm rolling ahead with Aziz and Quincy Roche, and they showed me why again today, man. That rhyme, don't hit the player, hit the game bars. Those guys, the 2 rookies, continue to be our best edge rushers, and that shouldn't be a debate. I feel like clear cap space, just keep them 2, draft another one. Hopefully one of those top guys, if they fall to us, Kayvon or Aiden Hutchinson. And then I think you got a really nice trio rotation there on the outside. The defensive line wasn't terrible today, but there's only, once again, so much you can do when the opposing offense is consistently on the field. The defense, I'm not gonna say too much about it, except that I really like what I've seen essentially since week 7, and I'm happy with their performance. But this time of the season, I think we could all say it's time to look forward to the end of the season, the off season, the draft and stuff like that, unfortunately. But that's where we are as Giants fans. and we really shouldn't be surprised by that. I think the offense is walking off the field as I'm watching the TV again. We really shouldn't be surprised by that, but that is where we are. And another thing this game showed me, speaking of the future, is that another person I've been really on the fence with this entire year was Joe Judge, and I feel like I've been very objective with him, and you guys have heard me you've heard me argue for him getting his third year, and you've heard me argue for him not getting his third year. This game also really showed me that I really want Joe Judge to have his third year, despite me absolutely hating like 90% of what he's done as a coach this year. The roster is so bad, and there's so many injuries, so many, players to COVID, just so many players not on the field, and then you talk about how bad the depth is, how bad the roster talent is on the offensive side of the ball, specifically the offensive line. Is just like, yo, what can he do? He's been here for a year and 15 weeks now. And I made a video back before the middle of the season started where I was like, he's been here for a year and 6 weeks or something like that. Let's see that third year from him. Let's see who the real Joe Judge is. And let's see what he can do when he has his hands a little bit more involved with the roster. At the end of the day, this is more of a Gettleman and Shermer roster than it is a Gettleman and Judge roster right now. So we'll have to go through and see. I just need to see a third year from him because a lot of the stuff that happened this year were out of his control, like COVID, or at least the players that caught it, and more specifically, the injuries. Of course, he needs to improve on a lot of things as a coach, which is I'm not going to excuse him on. I've called him out on time management, timeout management, challenges, living up to what he says this team is, discipline and whatnot, fundamentals, all of that. But that's just where my thoughts are right now. You guys let me know where yours are. Put your thoughts down below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'm out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I'll catch y'all in the next one.